Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom to all those whose faces we can see on Zoom, and Shabbat Shalom to everyone who's joining us on the YouTube stream. If you're there, you can feel free to leave a comment and let us know that you are joining us in this service. But in all of the windows and all the screens that are joining us this morning, we want to welcome you. I want to open us this morning with a poem by Gregory Orr. The poem's called "The Poems We Love, What Are They?" The poems we love, what are they made of? Nothing. Yet when we recite them, our voice climbs the lines as if they were stairs made of air in a house made of breath, structure invisible as death, a house made of breath, stairs that are nothing but air, yet each so solid we can pause when we want and stand there. Our prayers are much the same. We craft houses made of breath. When we sing Ashrei Yoshvei Veitecha, happy are we to be dwelling in this house that we have made of breath. And Kol HaNeshama Tehalel Yah, all those that breathe make houses of prayer and breath and song. We create this square inch of real estate. We build our own finite province of reality and allow our prayers and thoughts and thinkings to build each step for us to stand on, for us to pause, to breathe the next step, to build out of the nothing that is everything. We continue in our service with Moda Ani after some quiet moments of reflection.
Good morning, Shabbat Shalom. I want to say that one thing about this pandemic is that I feel like I'm always in my head. I'm just always in my head. And part of the reason for that is because I have very little reason or less reason to be in my body than I used to. And an example is how we pray now. I lead services sitting down. I wake up in the morning, I put on a button down shirt, and I come and sit down at my computer. I've been missing just the physical acts that so much accompany our prayer. Um, the the acts from waking up in the morning to getting dressed, for me to tying a tie, to walking, getting in the car or walking to Temple Micah, the rising and the sitting down. So I it is my hope that the more that we have to use this medium of online prayer, that we don't lose that physicality of prayer. Because I could see some of us are at home on our couches, even, or in our backyard, sitting, relaxing in the sun, which is very nice. And I encourage you to be comfortable. But I'd also like us to have some kind of awareness of our bodies, that we are in our bodies, that we are embodied creatures. And so you can do that in however way you want. Like I said, I have done so little physical activity this morning compared to the journey usually to get to Micah and all that. So I'm just going to move around a little bit as we sing this next prayer with gratitude for our bodies that work wondrously.
You'll find the words to this next blessing in the chat, wherever you are. We'll take a deep breath and join together. Oh, oh, oh. I thank you for my life, body and soul. Help me realize I am beautiful and whole. I am perfect the way I am, and a little broken too. I will live each day as a gift I give to you. Oh, oh, I thank you for my life, body and soul. Help me realize I am beautiful and whole. I'm perfect the way I am, and a little broken too. I will live each day as a gift I give to you.
The prayer that we've come to in our morning worship is called Nisim B'chol Yom, Daily Miracles. And I'm looking at our prayer book, and I'm looking at the left side of the page of the prayer book, which offers the interpretive, frequently more contemporary reading opposite, but reflects the spirit of the traditional inherited prayer text, which is on the right side of the page. And I woke up early this morning looking at this and looking at this left side, and I thought of my father. I think when my father passed away just over 10 years ago, I think I said at his eulogy something like, no one ever gave my father anything. Now, of course, that's not true. His parents gave him the gift of life, but he grew up in an immigrant family. He worked his way through everything. I'm not sure anybody ever gave him a fire truck for a birthday present, the way that kind of was usual for me. And these kinds of things, the things that we kind of take for granted. He earned in a different way than I certainly have everything he ever had in his life. And I therefore think he appreciated everything in a wonderfully modest way, where I feel like I've somehow grown up in an environment of we can become accustomed to things. And one of the things that I noticed on this side of the prayer book is there are things that the writer of this poem clearly regards as miraculous and that we should not take them for granted. So I just want to read a few of them. Let me be drawn to learning and discernment. May I not be overwhelmed by temptation or despair. Distance me from evil people. Let me cultivate a life of goodness. May my hands reach out in kindness. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamechin mitzadei gaver. Praise you, O God, who helps me take every step of my life and is with me in every moment. Baruch atah Adonai hamelamed chasadim tovim la'amo Yisrael. Blessed are you, our God, who teaches kindness and goodness to the people Israel. Amen.
Amen. In the middle of page 3, we enter God's house of prayer and breath. Ashrei yoshvei beitecha, od yehalelu chasela. Ashrei yoshvei beitecha, od yehalelu chasela. Ashrei, ashrei, ashrei yoshvei beitecha.
It feels good to be back. Feels good to sing these words with you. Um, and it feels good to be in that place, in that house of breath. Um, some of you might know I just moved, and we moved on Monday, and it's been raining almost every day since Monday, and it's been cloudy almost every day since Monday. So we finally in our new apartment have eastern facing exposure, which means we get morning light, but we haven't had the morning light yet until this morning. And this morning we walked into walked into the rest of the apartment, and light just poured in. And it's just no coincidence that our tradition, that our prayer for creation for the morning connects light with hope, connects light with what can be made new again. And so if we look at the words of our prayer of the Yotzer Or, we see this language. Ha'me'ir la'aretz v'ladarim aleha barachamim uvtuvo mechadesh b'chol yom tamid v'aseh v'reshit. In love, and you bring light to the earth and its creatures. Your goodness renews creation each day. That newness, that renewing of light, of bringing light back, of letting light pour forth, gives us the language of Or Chadash Al Tzion Ta'ir V'niskeh Chulanu Mehera L'Oro. And tomorrow we hope, tomorrow we pray that a new light is shine on us, and that all of us will be privileged to share in that light. Baruch Ata Adonai Yotzer Hamaorot. Our praise to you, Adonai, creator of the cosmic lights.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto, Leolam Va'ed, Ve'ahavta את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
The Israelites walked into the Reed Sea, 1 foot at a time. What were they thinking about as the waters rose up their legs, chilling their hearts, advancing toward their open mouths? We continue to walk here, now, 1 foot at a time, on our better days forward. Alone, I cannot reach the far shore without drowning. Somehow I don't go under. The person to my right holds me up. Something I cannot see holds him up. Blessed is the source of help, so often unexpected. I step forward, the sea is vast. We continue with our song of freedom, our song of redemption, Mi Chamocha.
Yai, חדשה, שיר בחוגי עולים לשמך. על שפת הים, יחד כולם הודו, והמליכו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד.
As a way of introducing the tefillah, I wanted to do something to honor Labor Day weekend. I turned to the writings of Aleph Dalet Gordon, one of those great labor Zionists of the early years of the 20th century. So I'll read a couple of sentences of Aleph Dalet Gordon, and then we'll proceed to a moment of quiet contemplation as our moment of tefillah. But Aleph Dalet Gordon wrote, "A vital culture, far from being detached from life, embraces it in all its aspects." A vital culture embraces it in all its aspects because, he writes, culture is whatever life creates for living purposes. Culture is whatever life creates for living purposes. Farming, building, road making, any work, any craft, any productive activity is part of the culture and is indeed the foundation and the stuff of culture. And then he writes, the procedure, the pattern, the shape, the manner in which things are done, these represent the forms of culture. Remember that. The manner in which things are done represent the form of culture, in a sense, the essence of culture. It sustains the higher expressions of culture in science and art. The things we call culture in the most restricted sense, the higher expression of culture, this is the butter churned out of culture in general in its broadest sense. So what Aleph Dalet Gordon is saying here, the manner in which things are done represent the form of culture and the higher expression, science, art, research, the things we are exposed to in the great universities, the great laboratories, the great museums. This is the higher expression, but it's rooted in the basic of culture. He says, this is the butter churned out of culture in general. And as I was reading Aleph Dalet Gordon this morning, I was wondering the manner in which things are done. If you have a society, a culture, an economy, if you will, that does not give honor and respect and value to the worker, then the society will inevitably have to crumble. The university can't sustain itself. The museum can't sustain itself because it's all rooted in the very way we see ourselves as human beings. And so Aleph Dalet Gordon's last line, can butter be produced without milk? We pause now for a moment of silent, quiet contemplation.
continue at the bottom of page 7. Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri, Vegoali, Vegoali, Yehiyu leratzon, Imrefi, Vehegyon libi lefanecha, Adonai Tzuri, Adonai Tzuri, Vegoali,
We move now to the Torah service, and with a new baby, a new child in our midst that we are about to name, I'll open our Torah service with the following words from Deuteronomy. Hakel et ha'am ha'anashim b'hanashim b'hataf v'gercha asher b'sha'arecha. Assemble the people, men, women, and children, and the strangers in your city, to hear, to learn, and to revere Adonai your God, to observe faithfully the words of this Torah, and let their children, who do not yet know it, hear, that they too may learn to revere Adonai your God.
And in song with these words at the top of page 8. Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, ha'olam oed, al shlosha devarim, ha'olam omed, al haTorah ve'al avodah, ve'al gemilut chasadim, al haTorah ve'al avodah, ve'al gemilut chasadim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, ha'olam omed, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, ha'olam omed, al shlosha devarim.
As we prepare to read the Torah, we'll first bless the Torah as we do. And for the Aliyah this morning, I invite to unmute themselves and to bless the Torah, Richard Just and Adrian Alvarez, and of course, Juliet.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher ifshar lanu lekarev et beiteinu laTorah. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen.
Amen. V'haya im shamoa tishma b'kol Adonai Elohecha lishmor la'asot et kol mitzvotav asher anochi mitzavcha hayom untanecha Adonai Elohecha elyon al kol goyei haaretz. Uva'u alecha kol habrachot ha'ele v'hisigucha ki tishma b'kol Adonai Elohecha. Baruch atah ba'ir, uvaruch atah basadeh. Baruch peri vitnecha, ufri admatcha, ufri behemtecha, shegar alafecha, ve'asterot tzonecha. Baruch tanacha, umishartecha. Baruch atah bevoecha, uvaruch atah b'tzetecha. Yiten Adonai et oyevecha hakamim alecha, nigafim lefanecha, bederech echad yetzu elecha, uvishav'a drachim yanusu lefanecha. Yetzav Adonai itcha et habracha, ba'asamecha uvechol mishlach yadecha, uverachecha ba'aretz asher Adonai Elohecha noten lach. Yakimcha Adonai lo la'am kadosh ka'asher nishbalach ki tishmor et mitzvot Adonai Elohecha v'halachta bidrachav. V'ra'u kol amei ha'aretz ki shem Adonai nikra alecha vayar'u mimecha. V'hotircha Adonai letova bifri vitnecha ufri vehemtecha ufri vifri admatecha al ha'adama asher nishba Adonai la'avotecha latet lach. Yiftach Adonai lecha et otsaro hatov et hashamayim latet mitar artzecha be'ito ulvarech et kol ma'aseh yadecha v'hilvita goyim rabim ve'ata lo tilveh.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan la'adam Torah emet. Baruch atah Adonai, Adon olamim.
Amen. So we've come to that moment where we're going to give Juliet Cecilia her Hebrew name. And the first thing I want to say, and I'm not going to speak, but I know I'm speaking on behalf of everybody. This is one of those moments where we all so wish we were in the sanctuary, that we could be with you, that we could see your beautiful, beautiful daughter. I think we would have loved hearing her scream and fidget during the service. We'd have loved to see, oh, now she's asleep. We would have loved to see you try and carry her gently up to the bima where, okay, we don't want to wake her up. It's one of those times where we feel the distance, even as I know many, many friends and members of your family are able to be with us in different places. But we feel the near and we feel the separation. And I think all of us just want to say, we just love the three of you, and we cannot wait till we can just pinch your daughter's arm or something and say, we love you in person. Dear God and Creator, joyous parents have come into your presence. Give them the wisdom to teach their child that you're always near to her, guiding and sustaining her. Though none can escape sorrow nor pain, we humbly ask for her the courage to face evil, the faith to transcend it, and the strength to subdue it. Grant her health of mind and strength of body, that she may enjoy fullness of years and live to do your will in faithfulness. Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, gomel chasadim tovim. Blessed Adonai, our God of the universe, whose love and kindness extend to all the world. Mishberach Avotenu Avraham Yitzchak v'Yaakov v'Imotenu Sarivka Rachel v'Leah Hu Yavarech et hayalda hazot Hakadosh Baruch Hu Yishmereha v'Tevet Lev hayalda lechet b'derchei Yosher v'Adonai Ima v'Yitein la Deya Bina v'Askel Chayim v'Chesed Bracha v'Shalom v'Yizku Avotel laGadla l'Chanaka l'Torah l'Chupa u'Lamasim Tovim v'Nomar Amen. May the one who guided and blessed our ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless his child with life and health, joy and happiness, strength and wisdom, kindness, blessing and peace. May you be a joy to your parents. May you live to bring honor to the house of Israel, blessing to all humanity, and glory to the name of God. And before I do the official pronouncement of your beautiful, beautiful Hebrew name, I'm going to invite your folks, Richard and Adrienne, to please tell us how you selected these names that you have for this little one that you're cradling so gently and beautifully.
Thank you, Rabbi Zemel. Dearest Juliet Cecilia, you're having a great nap, but I'm going to speak to you anyway. Your great-grandmother, Jeanette Schuback, is one of the two people for whom you were named. She was a serious person. My grandfather, her husband, was warm and funny and loving. He liked movies and schmoozing with strangers and a winking off-color joke. But that was not Grandma. Grandma didn't like TV. She had no use for sports, and she wasn't an easy laugh. What she did love, aside from her family, were ideas and books and history and politics. She was an intellectual at a time when women did not really have permission to be intellectuals. But she still found a way to pass on the things she valued most to her students at Henry Snyder High School in Jersey City, where she taught American history for 40 years, and to her 2 daughters and her 4 grandkids, who she saw just about every weekend of our childhood. In 1993, I remember sitting with her at our kitchen table where we co-wrote an angry letter to our Senator, Frank Lautenberg, who, although he was a Democrat, had for some reason voted against the Clinton economic stimulus bill. Around that time, she gave me a subscription to a magazine that I was just beginning to enjoy reading called The New Republic. My childhood bedroom at home is still filled with the dense academic books she bought me, starting, I think, while I was still in elementary school, about the Supreme Court and the American legal system. Juliet, if Grandma were here today, she would be, first of all, so very happy to have a great granddaughter. She would also be very proud that you are Jewish, proud that you and she will be forever joined in the link we call the Dor Vador, the beautiful Jewish chain that stretches thousands of years behind us and reaches forward, we hope, to infinity. Finally, I think she might offer you some slightly contrarian advice. The world is going to tell you again and again that the essence of a good life is to laugh, to have fun, to be happy. Grandma would absolutely want all those things for you in abundance, and your papa and I do too. But because she was who she was, I think Grandma would also remind you that life is a serious undertaking. That humans are not meant to glide through our existence on earth, but are meant to work hard and to care deeply and to grapple and to struggle and to think, and then to use our brains to try to make a difference. These were the places where Grandma found her joy, in the serious corners of life. I hope you, little Juliet, will eventually find some of your joy there as well. And I hope you'll occasionally think of your great-grandmother when you do.
Juliet Cecilia, you were also named after my maternal great-aunt, Cecilia Luna Torres, who we called Chila. She was your great-grandmother Trasila's oldest sister and best friend. Because Chila and my grandmother, Ma Tracy as we called her, were next door neighbors, we saw her every time we visited your great-grandparents, which would have been almost every weekend from the time I was born until I went away for college. As a result, Chila was like a second grandmother to me, my siblings, and all of my cousins. Chila and Ma Tracy ate together every day. Ma Tracy cooked all the meals and Chila washed all the dishes and put away the food. As a result, Chila had a real knack for always guessing the right size Tupperware for any leftover dish. Chila was also always game to try some newfangled approach for doing this or that. There was the time when she swore to Ma Tracy that you could scramble an egg in the microwave, much to Ma Tracy's disbelief. She was right, of course, but then spent the next 30 minutes scraping off pieces of dried egg from the roof of the appliance. Ma Tracy's standard line whenever Chila's experiments didn't quite work out the way she had planned was, "Ay, Cecilia, apenas se puede creer," or, "Oh, Cecilia, I can't hardly believe it." It sounds funnier in Spanish. Chila was no stranger to hard work and spent most of her life as a garment worker in El Paso, Texas, sewing zippers and pockets on blue jeans before manufacturing jobs left the city due to NAFTA. Although she didn't have a lot of money, she was one of the most generous, kind, and loving souls I've ever known. In high school, your Aunt Tracy went to London with the school orchestra. On the day before she left, Chila pulled her aside and said, "I've been saving money for your trip." She opened her purse up and pulled out $2. Aunt Tracy thanked her, put the money in her pocket, and then cried on the ride back home. Chila was also an intellectual who loved to read about religion, engineering, and literature. One of the last times I saw her before she died was in the summer of '98, right before I studied abroad in Mexico. She called me over to her house, and we read together the poems that consoled her when her older brother Arturo died suddenly of meningitis when he was only 18. The one that stuck out most was Lord Tennyson's "Break, Break, Break," which says in part, "And the stately ships go on to their haven under the hill, but oh, for the touch of a vanished hand and the sound of a voice that is still." Although Chila's no longer with us, like the ships that go on in the poem, Juliet Cecilia, I hope that you carry within you the humility, love, and kindness of this wonderful soul whose name you bear.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for being part of the Micah community. You bring so much to us. Thank you. And now you're bringing new life. It doesn't get any better than that. In the presence of many, many loved ones who are, I guess I'll say, as close to you as they could possibly emotionally be, even as they are removed from you physically, but as close to you as many, many people could possibly be. We give your little one that is snoozing so delightfully, Shenet Sahala bat Raphael Avram Vadam Ephraim. Let this Hebrew name become a name that is honored and respected for wisdom and good deeds. May God's blessing rest upon your little beautiful one now and always. May God bless you and keep you. May God cause light of God's face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May God watch over you always, and may God grant you his eternal, noble, beautiful, enduring blessing, the blessing of peace. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. And we will all join together to surround Juliet, Cecilia, and the whole Just Alvarez family with our love and the smiling faces of their community as we put our hands together in song. Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Yehi Lanu, Yehi Lanu, Yehi Lanu, Lechol Yisrael, Yehi Lanu, Yehi Lanu, Lechol Yisrael, Yehi Lanu, Yehi Lanu, Lechol
I wish I want to stay in that moment. A technical note before we transition out of our Torah service. If you want to move back, we're currently in speaker view. If you want to move back to gallery view, if you're in the Zoom, you can click the button in the top right corner of your screen. Or if you would rather pin the video of Juliet's cheeks so that you can watch that as you finish your prayer service, that's maybe what I'll be doing. So we conclude our Torah service, all of this blessing, with Eitz Chaim, which reminds us that the whole reason why we're doing this, all the reasons why we read Torah, why we enrich our lives with it, is so that it leads us into paths of peace.
Eitz Chaim hi lemachzikim ba v'tomchea meushar derachea darchei noam v'chol netivotea shalom hashivenu Adonai lecha v'nashuva chadesh yameinu kekedem.
I think appropriately for the moment, as we transition into Haftarah, it's a serious Haftarah. It's a charge, and so we go from the joy of life also to the serious work of life with this Haftarah from the book of Amos. It's one of our special Haftarot in our new Haftarah project cycle for these weeks of Elul, the weeks leading up to Rosh Hashanah. That is both reminding us in these days, in this time leading up to repentance, to return, that it's both internal, inward-looking work and also outward-looking work. So we join in the blessing, which I'll read, and then we'll share in the words of the Haftarah by my voice and by someone else's voice, which we'll see. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, whose spirit inspired our prophet and whose spirit inspires us to thoughtfully discern their words. Each generation that has come before has taught and made our prophets' words their own. Thank you for Bina, understanding, and Dea, knowledge, for the opportunity to choose the holy words that we pass on to the next generation. Surely, surely because you impose a tax on the poor and exact grain from him, you have built houses of hewn stone, but you shall not live in them. You have planted delightful vineyards, but shall not drink their wine. For I have noted how many are your crimes and how countless your transgressions. You are enemies of the righteous, you takers of bribes, you who subvert the cause of the needy in the gate. Surely at such a time, the prudent person keeps silent, for it is an evil time. Dirshu tov v'al ra, seek good and not evil, that you may live, and that the eternal Adonai Tzvaot may truly be with you as you think. Sinu ra ve'hevu tov, hate evil and love good, and establish justice in the gate. Perhaps the eternal, the God of hosts, will be gracious to us, to the remnant of Joseph. I loathe, I spurn your festivals. I am not appeased by your solemn assemblies. If you offer me burnt offerings or your meal offerings, I will not accept them. I will pay no heed to your gifts of fatlings. Spare me the sound of your hymns. Adonai will not hear the music of your lutes. Instead, let justice well up like water, righteousness like an unfailing stream. V'yigal kamayim mishpat utzedakah, Kanachal Eitan.
We will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream.
So we join with those words which echo from a different prophet. We thank God whose spirit inspired the prophets of old and whose spirit inspires us to live with intention. God, you call us to be our best. You call us to justice and mercy and to care for the oppressed. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, who gives us the ability to discern, to live, to inspire, and do your work.
Let justice well up like waters, and righteousness like a mighty stream. Let the land decide she is satisfied with the blood of no more sons and daughters, and well up like waters. Teach me how to lift up the Torah. Teach me how to lift up our Torah. To seek the truth within that helps me know where to begin. Teach me how to lift up the Torah. And let justice well up like waters, and righteousness like a mighty stream. Let the land decide she's satisfied with the blood of no more sons and daughters, and well up like waters. Teach me how to hear when I listen. Teach me how to hear when I listen. To not avert my eyes when I hear a people cry. Teach me how to hear when I listen. And let justice well up like waters, and righteousness like a mighty stream. Let the land decide she's satisfied with the blood of no more sons and daughters, and well up like waters, well up like waters, well up like waters.
Shabbat Shalom. We're going to take some time now to study a little bit of Torah. And we'll look at this morning's Torah portion. We're in the book of Deuteronomy, all the way at the end of the book of Deuteronomy. I'm going to share my screen here so we can all read these words together from Parashat Ki Tavo. So what we are looking at here is Deuteronomy 26, and it is called the ceremony of the first fruits. This is a ritual that was prescribed to the ancient Israelites, and it's a very, very succinct ritual, easy to follow, and it comes accompanied with a liturgical phrase that is to be repeated that we might recognize from the Passover Haggadah. I'll explain as we go along. Let's enter into the text together. Deuteronomy 26. When you enter the land that the Lord your God is giving you as a heritage, and you possess it and settle in it, you shall take some of every first fruit of the soil, which you harvest from the land that the Lord your God is giving you. Put it in a basket, and go to the place where the Lord your God will choose to establish God's name. You shall go to the priest in charge at that time, and say to him, I acknowledge this day before the Lord your God that I have entered the land that the Lord swore to our fathers to assign us. We have to remember this is an agricultural society. The priest shall take the basket from your hand and set it down in front of the altar of the Lord your God. You shall then recite as follows before the Lord your God. So here you can imagine somebody with a basket of fruit. The first fruits fruits that they've harvested, and they're bringing it before the temple. And then they have to say the following: My father was a fugitive Aramaean. He went down to Egypt with meager numbers and sojourned there. But there the Egyptians dealt harshly with us and oppressed us. They imposed heavy labor upon us. We cried to the Lord, the God of our fathers, and the Lord heard our plea and saw our plight, our misery, and our oppression. The Lord freed us from Egypt by a mighty hand, by an outstretched arm and awesome power, and by signs and portents. He brought us to this place and gave us this land, a land flowing with milk and honey. Wherefore I now bring the first fruits of the soil which you, O Lord, have given me. You shall leave it before the Lord your God. Bow low before the Lord your God, and you shall enjoy together with the Levite and the stranger in your midst all the bounty that the Lord your God has bestowed upon you and your household. I see that Cecilia awoke for the drash. Thank you. I'm so glad that she's wants to hear some words of Torah this morning. This is great. So there's some hidden messages here in the text, some of which I will point out. Now, in other places in Deuteronomy, it says outright what these messages are, but here they're hidden, and they're kind of beautifully hidden, which makes me think that the author of this text was some kind of strange genius. So the key word in this text, if we were looking at it in the Hebrew, is give, the root natan, nun, taf, nun, give. And every time it appears, I gave us bold so we can see it. And if you look and you go through and you just look at this section from Deuteronomy and where the verb natan appears, you can see it goes give, take, give, take, give, bring, give. So there's a kind of a pattern that's established here that might not be readily obvious to the person who's just reading it, but I kind of sense that you might internalize this as you are reading it. Because I was given this land, therefore I give to you. God gave to us, and therefore I give to God. And this is really the underlining theme of the entire book of Deuteronomy, which is that we are in a covenantal relationship with God. We are in a partnership with God. And that partnership is a give and take partnership. And in this example, God gives us the land, and we produce from the land fruit and give it back. So there's a back and forth, a back and forth. The other genius part of this text comes in this liturgical phrase that we say, which I said was in the Passover Haggadah, because listen to the voice who's speaking. It starts off in the singular. We start off my father was a fugitive Aramaean, and this is scholars think either referring to Jacob or to Abraham. But what's important here, from my point, is that it's in the singular. My father was a fugitive Aramaean. He went down to Egypt with meager numbers. It became a populous nation. The Egyptians dealt harshly with us and oppressed us. Did you see it? All of a sudden, the person is speaking in the collective we. We cried to the Lord, the God of our fathers. And the Lord heard our plea and saw our plight. So it moves from the single individual to the collective. This person is connecting his life with the life of his ancestors. And then at the end, it goes back to the singular. Wherefore I now bring the first fruits of the soil which you, O Lord, have given me. So I think the message here is not only about the covenantal relationship between God and Israel, but also that the relationship between or the Torah and the laws is not the exclusive right of previous generations, but rather belongs to the present generation. And I can't think of a better time to have read this Torah portion than on the day when we have a new baby in our midst. Torah is not given once upon a time, but it's continually given. It was given to our ancestors. The covenant was established, and it is ours today. Now I'm going to scroll down a little bit, and just to show you, this theme is kind of an echo of Deuteronomy 5, and I'll say a foreshadowing of Deuteronomy 29 and Deuteronomy 30. And here it just says it outright, but in some way it's just so much nicer and cooler that it's in that little, my father was an Aramean, fugitive Aramean little piece, because it's hidden and compact in that text. But here it says it outright. It was not with our fathers that the Lord made this covenant, but with us, the living, every one of us who is here today. It's so present and forward looking. And then in Deuteronomy 29, which we'll come up to next week, I make this covenant with its sanctions, not with you alone, but with those who are standing here with us this day before our God, and with those who are not with us here this day, but I guess will be with us. And then again in Deuteronomy 30, the Torah is very close to you, in your mouth and in your heart, to observe it. Now I'm going to hand this over to Byron Sherwin, who says this much better than I said it, and he explains it perfectly. He writes, "The transmission of the faith tradition from generation to generation is vested in the conveyance through memory of experienced events." And here's my favorite sentence. I should have put it in bold. "For Judaism, theological concepts never atrophy into abstract creeds because they are continuously being articulated through sacred deeds." It's not an idea. It's not only an idea, it's an idea that's enacted. The function of ritual associated with the various Jewish holy days is to internalize in the life of each member of the people the memory of an event in the life of the people. Indeed, for the tradition to continue, for the story to have perpetual and perpetuated meaning, it must be internalized. And this is what the person who's doing with the fruits is doing. He's bringing the fruits and he's internalizing the whole entire story of the Jewish people in that moment. I went to sleep the other night and I wrote down, as I was falling asleep, a statement of identity. That statement of "my father was a wandering Aramean" is a statement of identity. In that moment, the person who's saying it is rehearsing the entire history of the Jewish people, and is from all the way in the past, and also is in some way rehearsing the entire forward-looking pathway of the Jewish people. By the internalization of memory through ritual, we become our ancestors' contemporaries. This idea continually blows my mind. Present and past converge at the moment of celebration and commemoration. Memory is the stimulus, and ritual and liturgy are the vehicles that bind past and present, ancestor and descendant, ancient experience and contemporary faith. This next bit I have on a little piece of paper that Rabbi Zemel handed me maybe like last year, and I kept it. And I had to look up where you got it from because it was just a little photocopy. Comes from Soloveitchik, and he says the same thing. The Jew is aware experientially of the past and committed to the future, which is a reality to him. To exist as a Jew means to be at the juncture of past and future, of that which is no longer real and that which is not yet real. Now don't get scared, but here he says, our mission is to live in both dimensions. So I say, who says being a Jew is easy? And if you really try to feel that, you'll understand what Soloveitchik is thinking. And again, it's how perfect that we have a new baby with us who's named for grandparents, because the baby is both a memory of people who were, and also a baby is hope for the future. We are never just alone in this present moment. And now, Rabbi Zemel, I'm so glad you mentioned that thing about your dad, that no one ever gave him nothing, because reading this passage, we realize that gratitude is tied to remembrance. Gratitude is tied to remembrance. No one is self-made. Nobody is self-made. First there's God, and then there's parents, and only then there's me. Me is part of a system. And here, again, Byron Sherwin in a book, How to Be a Jew, gratitude is tied to remembrance. He says, the attitude of gratitude is an endemic feature of the religious personality. Thanksgiving is a recognition of divine grace, a testimony to God's providential care, an act of reciprocity. Remember the Natan, give and take, for blessings already bestowed. It would be ungracious not to be grateful. A question perpetually confronts the person of faith. How can I repay unto the Lord all God's bountiful dealings with me? Gratitude to God is an acknowledgement that no one is self-made. This is the bringing of the fruits. A self-made man is as likely as a self-laid egg, observed Mark Twain. Thanksgiving begins with the awareness that our very existence is a gift of God, a gesture of divine largesse. Shabbat Shalom.
So we transition from those thoughts into a caring for our whole community, into prayers of blessing, thinking of those who are with us right now and those who we wish to send our healing blessing to. And it's no coincidence that our tradition decided to use the same blessing formula for moments of great joy and also for moments of healing, because it represents the fullness of life and the blessings for all of us that are within. And so we send our healing blessing to Emily Alpern Fish, Frank Anderson, Ellen Appel, Ronnie Behar, Sarah Beal, Jacob Blake, Michael Booth, Ellen Buckley, Rafi Elijah, Nathaniel Felber, Cello Fournier, Mel Goldberg, Renee Goff, Carol Greenberg, Edward Greenberg, Richard Greenfeld, John Hall, Cindy Bosco Hill, Bob Katroser, Dorothy Kirby, Joan Kupferberg, Philip Levine, Sam Levinson, Avital Manor, Maytal Maymoon, David Merrill, Goldie Nussbaum, Jenny Polofsky, Rebecca Priegel, David Ransohoff, Lois Rosen, Eric Rosenberg, Sura Rosenberg, Barry Rubens, Rabbi Steve Sager, Seth Salinger, Sam Salick, Joan Schwartz, Francie Schwartz, Mary Schwartz, Diana Seasonwine, Paul Shapiro, Leanne Sandell, George Scott, Lillian Sugarman, Betty Euston, Larry Weiner, and Rabbi Maggie Winnig. If there are names that you are thinking of, I invite you to say them aloud in your homes, or even to say your own name out loud if you are in need of healing, and we'll join in our blessing for Misha Barach, our blessing for healing.
Misha Barach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe Beirach Imotenu Mekor HaBracha Avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
We come now in our service to the Kaddish. Remember our loved ones who are no longer with us. And as has become our custom, at our Micah gatherings. For those of you that have our worship sheet with the list of names, for the last many months, too many months, we remember a few of the far too many lives lost to COVID. We have the custom of reading each week 3 names, one name from a foreign country around the world, one name from someone somewhere across the United States, and one person from more in our local greater Washington community. These names are, of course, symbolic of this angel of death that is outside all of our doors. So this Shabbat, we remember Aldir Blank, 73, was a songwriter in Rio de Janeiro. Remember Eli Sevener, 19 years old, was a high school football and baseball star in Puyallup, Washington, the state of Washington. And closer to home, remember George Kosritsky, 98 years old, was an architect in our close by city of Baltimore. We also remember in our Micah community each week those who were lost to violence, whose lives were taken due to violence in our own city. We have the custom of reading these names together aloud. So if you have the worship sheet with the names, I invite you to read with me in your own homes. This week, every week, there's almost never a week where there are not names lost to violence in our own city. We remember this week Byron Bright, age 23 of Oxon Hill, Eric Butler, age 28 of Southeast Washington, Kim Maurice Cook, age 49 of Waldorf, Maryland, Devon McNeil, age 11 of Southeast Washington, Kyrie Pringle, age 25 of Bryans Road, Maryland, and Aaron Watts, 33, no fixed address, all lives lost in our own city. And this Shabbat, we offer condolences for Stuart Goldberg, the father of Eric Goldberg, the father-in-law of Betsy, and the grandfather of Juliet Goldberg. In a period of Shiva, for Alan Stark, the father of Nick Stark, and for John Bielenberg, the father of Aaron Bielenberg. And I saw Aaron earlier in a box on the Zoom. And so, Aaron, we are thinking of you, and our thoughts are with you, even as you mourn with your family. We're in a period of Shloshim for Melvin Garbo, the cousin of Sid and Elka Booth. And on this Shabbat, we observe Yartzeit for Marilyn Collar Bodar, Richard Kaufman, Murray Donenfeld, Ronald L. Douglas, Hyman Edelman, Judith Evans, Marvin Feldman, Greta Frankenfeld, Marcia Friedman, Jane L. Glazer, Harry Granoff, Fanny Kabat, Susie Kaminsky, Saul Levine, Sarah Manasavit, Ann Milbank, I. William Nussbaum, Barbara Pastor, Marjorie Pockroy, Ann Safferstein, Gloria Schneider, Ida Seelig, Robert Shapiro, Barbara Sherman, Mary Fine Schulman, Pearl Simmons, David I. Sindel, Ethan Stang, Herman Steckler, Norma Aronson, Wegner, Rita Wells, Abraham Zapruder. We join together reciting Kaddish, remembering as we do those who have no one to say it for them. Yitgadal, V'yitgadash, Shmei Rabbah, V'yomad Divrach, Yerutei, V'yamlich Malchutei, Chayechonu V'yomechonu V'chayei D'chol Beit Yisrael, B'agalah V'zman Kariv V'imru Amen. Yehesh me Rabba Mevarach Le'olam Olmei Olmaya. Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitpoar, V'yitromam, V'yitnaseh, V'yithadar, V'yithalei, V'yithalal, Shemei Kudesha, Brichu, Le'la Min Kol Berchata, V'shirata, Tushbachata, V'nechamata, Damiran B'yomah V'imru Amen. Yehesh lo Merabba Min Shemaya, V'chayim Aleinu V'yakol Yisrael, V'imru Amen. Oseh Shalom B'imromav, Hu Yaseh Shalom. Aleinu v'Yakol Yisrael, v'Yakol Yoshvei Tevel, v'Imru, Amen. The source of peace, and peace to all those who mourn, and comfort to all who are bereaved everywhere in our community and everywhere around the globe, as we say, Amen. And now, as we also have come to say at Temple Micah, I say to my good friend Deborah, bring us home.
Teach me how to flow like a river. Teach me how to flow like a river. To face what's in my way and keep on moving just the same. Teach me how to flow like a river. Teach me how to stand like a mountain. Teach me how to stand like a mountain. Defiant, strong, and proud before what tries to tear me down. Teach me how to stand like a mountain. And let justice well up like waters, and righteousness like a mighty stream. May the land decide she's satisfied with the blood of no more sons and daughters. And well up like waters. Teach me not to yield like an iron. Teach me not to yield like an iron. To see these wrongs addressed, to not accept anything less. Teach me not to yield like an iron. Teach me how to burn like a fire. Teach me how to burn like a fire. Let my righteous rage spark the turning of the page. Teach me how to burn like a fire. And let justice well up like waters, and righteousness like a mighty stream. May the land decide she's satisfied with the blood of no more sons and daughters. And well up like waters. Well up like waters. Well up like waters. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom to everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.